everybody. This is Smoked Meats. I'm your host, Brad Pittman. Smoked Meats brought to you by Joe's Underground in Augusta, Georgia, at the corner of 8th and Broad in the bottom of the Lamar building. Great food, great drinks, great people. Remember, I goes to Joe's and so should you. My guest today is a great guy, a very, very diverse guy, a young man named Carmine Caradonna. Carmine's been an actor and a filmmaker. He's a martial artist. He's been a bodyguard for some of the biggest names in martial arts. We're definitely going to get into that. He's been a DJ. This young man is a master at reinventing himself. You know, when it's time to do something else or he gets a chance to, he does it. He's got some cool projects coming up. We're going to talk about those. So we're just going to kind of jump right into this thing. Hey, Carmine, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine, hanging in. How's everybody out there? And how are you, Brad?
Oh, man.
Great?
We're hanging in there like a hubcap in the fast lane.
Right. That's what we all got to do.
Yep. So, man, we've done some talking here, you know, the last couple of weeks, and you were an interesting guy. You have done so many different things, you know. I almost just don't know where to dive in. You know, you've been a DJ, you're a martial artist. You're an actor, a filmmaker, everything.
Right. Well, I guess the film bug, that thing caught me early in the 70s, in the early 70s. Mm-hmm. And I was doing karate at that time, and Bruce Lee was like the biggest thing going out. And he was doing his film, so I figured, hey, maybe I can do my film. So I knew some people like that knew how to use the cameras and all, and I choreographed, even at that time, I choreographed fight scenes that we did. In fact, one is on my YouTube channel. It's called Face to Win. It runs about almost 25 minutes, and it's one of those campy type, you know, karate type movies that you would see in the 70s.
Those were the best.
And, yeah, that was before I became a DJ, you know, and then I became a DJ, basically because I wanted to open up a karate school, and you know, and I figured, how am I going to get the money? So I went into DJing, and at that time, it was fairly new. You know, this was about 74, 75. It was fairly new, so it was a big demand for DJs. Well, not really a big demand, but in big demand in clubs, but there weren't a big pool of DJs. So I was like on the bottom end, working my way up.
Yeah. So,
you know, that was basically paying the bills at that time.
Yeah. Did you get caught up in the disco thing, man?
Which one?
Did you get caught up in disco while you were DJing?
Oh yeah, I started. That's how I started in the disco. I mean, also, if you saw, I don't know if I even mentioned on that, even that I became a dancing instructor too. While I was DJing, you know, it was part of the whole system. I was teaching dancing, I was DJing, and I was, doing my karate at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, I guess if you look at it, it all goes together. Music, dance, and karate. Karate is a form of dance, as you could put it.
Yeah, when I was younger, a lot younger, if I was to try and do anything now, I'd probably break both my legs. You know, when I was a teenager, I did Taekwondo, and I remember I loved doing weapons, and I actually did my own sword form to the theme for Miami Vice. So, like I say, it was martial arts, it was music, and it was dance all kind of in one, and it was a lot of fun.
Right. That's what I started out. I started out with Taekwondo. But mine was more of the international Taekwondo, so it was a little more physical than other Taekwondos that you see around now. They got World Taekwondo, and they got all different types of Taekwondo. A lot of different things coming out of Korea. That was either, there was Tang Soo Do, there was a whole bunch of other ones, Muda Kwan, which was also a Taekwondo. Mine was just Taekwondo. It was international.
Yeah,
this one actually came from, my teacher taught the military in Korea.
Yeah, that's what mine was, just nothing fancy. It was just Taekwondo, here you go, let's do this. And I got so much out of it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. There was something, the way I grew up in Brooklyn. The way I grew up was you'd be fighting every day. So so I figured I'd take taekwondo, I'd take karate too, and what happened was as soon as I started taking it, I never got in a fight again.
Funny how that works out, ain't it?
Yeah, I know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like all my fighting and all my aggression, I guess when you happen, there's a lot of aggression in you. So that took it out of me, going there and having to fight, Now I'm fighting all the time. Don't need to fight outside anymore.
Exactly. And it was funny. I was in a lot better shape, and like I say, I was more centered. I wasn't angry all the time. I didn't want to fight, and it just it was good for me.
I guess that's what it does. It kind of like mellows you out. Believe it or not, a lot of people. I guess it affects people in different ways. I mean, that's the way it affected me because of my growing up and getting into fights all the time. That did an opposite effect to it, and. Again, then I went into DJ music. As they say, music calms the savage beast.
Definitely.
Right? Remember that saying?
I do.
Well, yeah. So that's probably what happened to me also, going into music, and karate has kind of like really mellowed me out.
Yeah, and we're talking about music. Music is such a neat thing because for me, it brings back so many memories. You can name a song, and I can tell you where I was when I used to listen to that. And that's so awesome. It takes my mind off of everything. Oh,
yeah. A lot of memories it brings back. When I went into the DJing business, though, what happened was, there was a lot of things that bothered me in the past with the regular music. But when it came to the disco music, that was all new. Mm-hmm. So there was no memories of other things because that was a whole new music format. So that was kind of like helped me through a lot of things too. Whereas I don't know if people would understand that, but every time you hear a song that's sad or something that happened, it's based off of your memory of the past. But then when you go into a new music format, which is coming out, it opens up a whole new light to you, and you forget everything in the past, and this is all new. And that's, I guess, what the disco music did to me. It moved me forward.
Yeah, I can see that. And you know what tickles me about disco is there's so many people that say, disco was horrible. But you've got a lot of different disco songs and a lot more than people think about that. Well, you can play and people will start tapping their foot and they'll know the words even though they've been talking smack about it.
The whole thing was the whole music format was based off of dancing. Mm-hmm. That's why he says, all the songs sound alike. Well, when it's in that format, it was all based off of a certain step format, just like all tango music sounds alike, all waltz music sounds alike, all cha-cha music sounds alike. That's all for a dance.
Yeah.
Same thing with disco. It was all set up for a type of dance. It started one way, which started off one dance craze. It moved into another one. And then the music got a little bit faster. The beats doubled up on each other, which became more of Latin disco dancing. Mm-hmm. Well, and they took from that type. They took from cha-cha, mambo, and they moved it into that direction.
Well, what would if you had to go back and say, okay, I love this song the most or this group the most? What was your go-to favorite song? If you could just
in the disco?
Yeah.
I don't know. See, when you're a DJ, there isn't a lot of songs that you say, was my favorite song, because when you're a DJ, you hear hundreds and hundreds of songs over and over and over again. You can't really go back and say, that was my favorite, because then there could be another 25 favorites.
Yeah, this is true.
So there really isn't. When you're up there spinning, I don't know how other DJs do it, but when I was in the frame of mind with a DJ, I never really focused on a song. My focus was on what next song I was going to mix into that song that's playing.
Yeah, because that, being a former DJ, that is very important, because you got to be able to do that segue right, because if you don't, it just kills the whole show.
Right. So my focus wasn't on the song that was playing. My focus became the song afterwards. It was the next song coming up. I always had to think ahead. You always have to think ahead, think for the next. I guess that moved me into a way of thinking that my creativity became a lot stronger, and I'm always thinking ahead rather than to try and think behind.
Okay. I can definitely respect that, and I'm sure that's something else that martial arts kind of had a little hand in too, because you got to anticipate.
Everything mixes together, and when I did taekwondo up, started in 1970, did that up until about 1978, which, don't get me wrong, it's not that I ever stopped. I still continued taekwondo and added more. I started getting into Wing Chun in about 1979. 78, 79, started Wing Chun, which was, I went to Chinatown in New York City. I used to commute to Chinatown to go to one of the schools over there, because that's where I found it. That was where Bruce Lee supposedly, he did do Wing Chun, but he didn't complete the whole system. He went through part of the system. And then he hooked up with Danny Inosantos, who was a Philippine artist, and I guess he borrowed off of that and moved into that direction, using some of the Wing Chun, because if you look at both styles, the Philippine style and the Wing Chun style, you could almost put them together, because I took the Philippine art style too. When I moved to Florida, I found another school that taught different styles, and one of them was in the Philippine art. So I did that too, along with the Wing Chun. I eventually completed the Wing Chun system, and there was 2 ways of doing it, and I completed both ways of doing it. In the whole time. And, it takes a lot of time, but in that time also, I did the Philippine arts, I did animal forms, I did a few other things that, I incorporated in. It's just that the people I ran into, they were teaching that, Carmine, come over here, learn some of this. And, if your mind is open to all the styles, you could grab, and put everything together. See, I can put things together, but I had a school in Florida, but when I taught it separately. I didn't teach it together. I never tried to create my own style, but when things come out and you actually use something, everything will come out.
Yeah, because that's like making a stew with just one ingredient. You can't do it, and you, like I say, you've done these different styles, and it sounds to me like you've made a pretty good stew that, and... Well, basically when I had my school, I had a school in Florida for about 5-6 years, and I taught Taekwondo from my first teacher. That's how I taught it. And I taught Wing Chun from one of my teachers also. But they were separate. They weren't together. Yeah.
And also during that, since about 1981, I started doing background acting work also in Florida, which brings me to which comes to the bodyguard thing. I had friends in the martial art industry who ran tournaments, and of that one thing with Chuck Norris that came out is he was appearing at one, and he got mobbed, and I knew the one that was running the whole tournament, and he called me and said, Carmine, take care of, Chuck. And I was put right next to him. I made sure nobody bothered him, and that was my job for the day.
Yeah.
And that's how, and through that, I did something like that for like 2 or 3 years afterwards. Every time one of the martial arts came into town, I was assigned to them. That included Bill Wallace, Ed Parker. Superfoot, Bonsu Han. Yeah, it's funny now. Superfoot, he's living in Florida now.
No way.
Yeah, and I was down there all those years. I'm back up in New York, and he's down in Florida. Well, he was in Memphis a lot. I mean, I think Tennessee he came out of.
Yeah, I remember one thing that always impressed me about him, you know, I mean, obviously the nickname Superfoot was just, and I don't know if he actually did it any different than anybody else, was whenever he would throw a kick, the way that he locked his legs out, it always just stood out to me, the way that he did it.
I first saw him back in 1980 in Madison Square Garden because I had some students that I brought to a tournament in Madison Square Garden, and they were all day performing and fighting and all that. And at night I had tickets. There was a fighter that was fighting that night that I knew, and when I went, Bill Superfoot Wallace was putting on an exhibition bout at that time. And that was basically the first time that I actually saw him in person. And that was 1980. I didn't get to actually meet him, which was weird, till about 1984 when Chuck Norris was there and Ed Parker was there. And, you know, then I talked to him a few times, and every year after that, for about 3 years, he came back, and I did the same thing.
Yeah, like I say, you got to meet some great martial artists. I mean, I remember growing up, I'm a little bit younger than you are, not a lot, but a little bit. But, I mean, Chuck Norris, I mean, that obviously, you know, Superfoot, Ed Parker,
Right.
I mean, these names are just, these are royalty, you know. And,
Right, well, yeah, Bonsu Han, I was hanging. Bonsu Han was the nicest guy ever. I was scared to meet him because you see all those things, the Billy Jack movie and all that. When I met him, he was the nicest guy. I mean, we went out to dinner and everything.
Yeah, and you know that's one thing people don't realize a lot of times. They see these people and think, okay, they're bad to the bone. You know, they can do all this. It's not like they walk around every day going, okay, who can I kick in the face today? They're people. Right.
Well, you get mixed up and you see what persona they give out when they're on film. When you actually meet them, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
You know, Chuck Norris was gracious as anything, really nice. I'm surprised he even put up with me. Because what I did with him, I figured, this is good. This is too good to be true. And I was taking pictures with him all over the place, as you saw some of the pictures I sent you. And I had to tell other people they couldn't take pictures of him.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny. You know, that was my thing. Don't bother him. And I was bothering him.
And it's funny. It's easy to get starstruck sometimes. You know, doing these interviews. You know, people that I'm talking to. I like being professional. You know, you know my style. We're doing it right now. You know, it's just a conversation between two guys. But at the same time, you know, there's like the meat of the interview I got to get to sometimes. And I when I start doing that, the little fanboy starts coming out, and I got to fight to keep him back. You know. It's
Yeah.
tough.
Well, it is at the beginning, but sometimes, you know, you see they lighten it up. I mean, I was intimidated too when I was, you know, in the presence of them. Yeah. And they just started talking to me, and then you just like forget it. Same thing with Ed Parker. Ed Parker was a big, intimidating guy, and the nicest guy ever. You know, you need anything, Carmine? He would say, very soft-spoken and everything. You know, and this is the man that was Elvis Presley's bodyguard. You know, towards the end. I mean, he was the guy right up there with Elvis and everything. In fact. Elvis learned Kempo from him and everything. You know, so there you got royalty to begin off with.
Yeah. And you know,
Yeah, at that time, I didn't know. I knew he was Elvis's bodyguard, but I really didn't know a lot about him. I mean, I saw some movies. I knew he was Kempo. In fact, when I went to those different schools, I took Chinese Hawaiian Kempo, which was when he first came to the States from Hawaii, which he started teaching, but he had to soften it up, which became his regular, American Kempo, or whatever he called it. The first, it was Chinese Hawaiian Kempo, which is a little more brutal, and that's what I learned, which is more of a ripping apart. You take the same Kempo moves, but you do a lot of hitting and clawing afterwards, which you would see him use. And he did like 2 films, 2 movie films. And if you saw those films, he uses that type rather than what you see in American Kempo these days.
Yeah, I remember, back in the 80s when I was, teenager and just heavy into martial arts, every month Black Belt magazine would come out. I would just about fight to go get me a black belt. And they always had Ed Parker's Kempo Karate in there. I would never forget it.
Oh, yeah, I used to get all those magazines, Black Belt Magazine, all those magazines I used to get. That's what I mean. In my years that I was learning, I saw all that, and then I finally got to meet these people. And when you meet these people, it's a different, opinion you have than what you saw. You think they're, and you're very afraid, and they're very nice, very soft-spoken, people. That's what they are, so the same thing I told you when I met all of them. They were all, all real nice.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, I've always heard people say never meet your heroes. They'll let you down or whatever. To me, I go into these things understanding that everybody's people. You have got more experience in a lot of things than me. You've done some more things than me, but you know what we're both doing right now? We're both drinking coffee.
Right.
We're both people, and that's the way everybody is, and that's...
Yeah, well, there's things that we all do in life, and, and everybody's going to follow a direction that they get put in, just like the difference with me, I guess, my direction keeps changing half the time. So something jumps in and changes the direction. The same thing when I got back into filmmaking. I mean, I was doing background work, but then, things happen in your life and it takes a different turn. I had to go back to more DJing to, pay bills, which took me away from the movie industry for a while. I didn't really get back into it. So I moved back up here into Long Island, and it was funny that through social media, I ran into my friends from Florida who kept up the movie industry, and they directed me back into the movie industry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I've learned, never turn down an opportunity to do anything. Well, for the most part anyway. And
right.
Never turn down a chance to meet somebody, whether you think they're important or not, because everybody's important. Everybody is. And, you never know who you're talking to. I've transported patients who, when I'm on the ambulance, I treat everybody like it's my mom or dad, because that works. And I've had patients who, other people that have had them, they're just horrible people. They're just difficult. And I just treated them normal and find out that's, a senator's mom, or that's this guy, big recording star's grandma. But it don't matter. You treat everybody the same way, and that's awesome.
Right. Well, you don't really know people, and you can't really judge people. You just talk to people. You never know who you... Another thing is, and I learned, you never really know who you're talking to. I would say always conduct yourself, to your best, behavior whenever you talk to anybody. Because I remember when I was doing one of the background works, in Florida, a movie that was called Blue Skies Again, about the first female baseball player. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to, which I thought was an extra or something, and he turned out to be Andy Garcia.
Nice.
Yeah, and you know, we were just talking. There was a few of us talking around, and he was talking about how he had to fly from California to Florida to do this movie because he's trying to get a break. He says, luckily, he had some family in Miami, which he grew up in, and he was staying with them. But he had to pay his own way. But it was a talking part. It was a good part for him to get started, and his name was in, and you know how his career turned out after that. I mean, nobody heard about that movie, but all know about his career.
Yeah. Yeah, and
so you don't know who you're ever talking to, on anything, or who you're ever with.
Exactly. I tell you, man, I'm having a great time doing this, the podcast, because I'm getting to talk to so many cool people that I normally wouldn't have a chance to talk to,
Right.
And I'm learning something from everybody I'm talking to.
Well, everybody has something to contribute to everybody that's out there, and like I said, everybody should go into their own direction and dream. You should, let your dreams come true. See, that's another thing. What's going on in the movie industry right now with everything happening? There's so many rules and regulations they're going to start putting out right now, which is kind of hard for any artist, because what an artist does is an artist explores new things. An artist has to let their mind wander. An artist has to be clear of not a problem coming in while they are trying to perform what they have to perform. And if you're laying rules and regulations, you are stopping that performance.
Yeah.
That they got to consider too. That's a real big part of it. People say, "Okay, I want to do this and this," and then you're saying, because of this, now you can't do this and this. Now becomes limitations. Bruce Lee used to always say, "There are no limitations," and that's the only way that you can express yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're going to put limitations on something, a person can't fully express themselves.
Yeah, that's doing stand-up. I've had so many different evolutions in my stand-up career that I've been the guy who got up and did the simple jokes. I've been the guy that got up and nothing but dirty jokes. And now I'm me. And that seems to be working, because I don't worry about, is this going to hit here? And this, I'm me. And it works out, because that's what people want.
Well, if they told you when you went up there, well, you can't say or do this, this, and this because this and that, it could take your throw your whole routine off.
Yeah, exactly.
And what could have been really, really funny is now can't be heard.
Yeah.
So you lose that part, and that's a bad thing. That's happening. People don't understand. There's a lot that goes into movie making. I mean, everybody sees the finished product, but before that, there's a script you have to come out with, a screenplay you have to come out with. A scene breakdown you have to come out with. You have to all this has to all be written up. Mm-hmm. Camera angles have to be set up. A budget has to be set up. Everything has to be set up. Then meetings. Then you have meetings. You have to have a meeting with your directors, a meeting with other producers, a meeting with the script supervisor before you even get to anything. Then you have a reading with the actors have to go through it. This is all before you even start filming.
Yeah.
And what's going to occur now because of what's going on? How is any of that? People say, well, you could do it on Zoom. You can do it on this format, that format. You could do it on that's why you got the internet. It's not the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's not the same thing. There has to be a feeling. You can't get a feeling if you're looking at a video camera.
Yeah.
You have to get the feeling between two people.
Yeah, there's a lot of comics out there right now that are, filming their stand-up at home, which is fine. God bless you. But I'm not able to do that because I feed off that energy from the audience. Like I say, it's interaction.
Right.
And I don't think I'd be able to do it. And
right. Well, that's what I mean. You feed off the crowd. You feed off this. I mean, comedians feed off the feedback from the crowd. You don't have that crowd to feedback. You don't even know if that routine is working.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you feed back. The same thing when I was DJing. I would feed back from the crowd out there. If I didn't have a crowd, if I had like two people, I'm working, I'm still doing my job, I'm still putting it out, but I'm not getting that feedback from the crowd. When you got a big crowd and you put on a certain song and everybody reacts to that crowd, it puts a light in your head that okay, this is working, let me move into this direction, let me go. Otherwise, you don't know what direction you're moving in.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. 'Cause like I say, you don't know if it's working or not. And,
Right.
just these meetings that take place, while you're talking to these producers or whoever on the phone or on Skype or whatever,
Yeah.
they may be saying, okay, yeah, man, this sounds great. What you may not be seeing is them rolling your eyes, looking at somebody going, get me off of this, And you can't get a good feeling for what's actually happening.
Yeah, like in the film I'm working with now, called The Left-Handed Secret Agent. I mean, the script is there, the screenplay is there, the scene breakdown is there, everything's written out. The next thing that was supposed to happen was to raise the money, which that is up in the air right now. And also I was supposed to have a meeting with the assistant director, whose name is Richard Kern, and script supervisor, who is Brian Neitron. He's the script supervisor. And one of the other producers, that's Dan Romano. And we were supposed to all meet together to go over the whole script, scene by scene, to see if everything fits.
Yeah.
And right now that can be accomplished.
Yeah.
So everything is like on hold right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, because right now I know that everybody's got enough things in the can where, okay, we can release these new episodes, we can release this movie on this day. I'm interested to see what's going to happen in the fall, because people aren't filming stuff right now, and you got all these series who, okay, we're going to start a new season in the fall, and all of a sudden they can't film.
Right, and see, that's going to be they have already. I saw plans of how they're going to resume, but the plans that they have that I saw, I can't really see how you could presume it on a normal basis. It's going to be kind of strange. I like to see how they're going to do it. I have a few people on my end that's talking about things that they're going to resume in the fall. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
There's ways to do it, but I don't understand how it can be done without somebody interfering because you are not doing it according to protocol. Mm-hmm. I don't understand that part. I just see costs might be too much money for the way that they want to do it.
Yeah.
That's kind of gets, we're especially in certain movies that you have to do certain things. Like in my film, Left-Hand Secret Agent, it's going to be martial arts in it, there's going to be fight scenes in it. So how are we going to do that? Because then people have to actually touch people.
Yeah, everybody's going to Darth Vader choke or force choke everybody else.
I don't know.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, she's in London, and she came out with, it was funny, video, and they did it from, I guess, all over the world, and they showed somebody punching somebody on a camera, and then somebody getting the punch and moving back. So and they put they put sound effects, everything. It looked pretty cool. But like one guy is at, in the park, and then the other guy's at his home receiving the punch or the kick. Yeah, that's how it was filmed. And I wrote down, I said, this could be a new way of filming.
That is awesome. I'm going to have to see that because that sounds pretty funny. But,
I guess it was a woman that I know from England, and she's a martial artist, and she put it on her timeline, and I saw it. But it was funny. It's like it was all martial arts. Somebody would throw a kick, and somebody on the other end received the kick and reacted and then punched back. And this went along to all different people, and somebody's in their backyard, somebody's in their home, somebody's in their room. I says, oh yeah, that's my how we have to do it now.
One thing that is coming out of all this is that there's a lot of creativity in people trying new things because that's kind of what we've got to do. And,
right, for the time being.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
And I'd love to say that I sit down and write every day, but I'm not. But the thing, I'm doing these podcasts and I'm learning so much and actually doing really well. This thing's growing because I'm having to redo things and learn new things, and it's forcing people to think, okay, what can we do different?
Right. Well, that's you start thinking that way. I have an idea that I might try and do something. I haven't put it forth. I mentioned to a few people about doing a short movie or something about it's kind of be like a parody. It's not a real. It's not going to be. It's going to be a fiction type thing where I act as a host and interview somebody, and on the other hand, somebody they're not even with me. They're on the other end, like sitting down, like I'm actually interviewing them, and I would have a list of questions. Forward them the list of questions. And they will have the answers, and I would do reactions and everything would be probably done in the editing room where it'd be all put together like I'm actually interviewing somebody. Now, it's not an interview where it's an actual true interview. It's almost like a parody interview.
Yeah.
I could be interviewing a character, not a real character, but a guy playing a character, and I'm doing the interview of a character.
Nice. And the neat
where
thing
you
is,
you can do that without being in the same room with somebody.
Yeah. And right now, 10 years ago even, like green screen stuff, the software to do it and the hardware and everything was just ridiculous. Now, you can get in a green screen for nothing, and you can do some really cool stuff with it, even just backgrounds.
Well, I've done it too. I've done green screen. I did a whole. I won awards for it too. I did a whole, trailer, a couple of trailers that I won awards for using the green screen, and I was the only one that was in the whole trailer. But if you look at the trailer, I'm not the only one in the trailer. But the green screen shows differently.
Yeah.
And, all that stuff is on my YouTube channel under my name, Carmine Caradonna. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see a lot of different things that I have done. Plus, you'll probably see a couple of home things also. But, everything is added on my one channel. So you'll see a lot of the stuff that I did, because every time I do something, it gets put into YouTube. So it's there. So if somebody subscribes to my channel, they're going to see everything that I do. As soon as I do, it goes right up.
Yeah.
I also done, I'm working with, there's another thing that's up. It's called The Obstacle. I'm working with a few people, a New York actor, Tony Welch, and the other co-writer with the script is William Campbell, and I did that. I wrote the script with William Campbell, and what happened was it was in a box for a few years, and then Tony Welch from New York, who was in the movie The Irishman, he decided he wanted to do it, so we had to come up with a teaser, and nobody really were able to do the teaser, so I said, well, let me try this. So here I go, using the green screen and stock footage, and I came up with a minute-long trailer, which is, again, on my YouTube channel. That's the only place you're going to see it, because we haven't really put it up because it hasn't moved forward because of what's going on now, so it hasn't really moved forward. Yeah. They had a couple of stars that they wanted to put in. I mean, Tony's handling most of it in New York. Like I said, they brought me in to like collaborate, and I said, listen, I just wrote half the thing, but I wound up doing the teaser for it. Mm-hmm. So, that's another project that's on hold. Everything seems to be on hold right now, so no matter what you do, what you did before is, on stop. Yeah. The same thing with my film, The Left-Hand Secret Agent. Everything's ready to go, but it's not moving. And that's like based on the old Matt Helm in like Flint movies. Mm-hmm. It's campy. It's very campy. It's about an old retired secret agent that they called back because something went wrong, and he's the one. He has a lot of martial art and old school, things that he has learned in the past, mm-hmm. and that's what gets him by. It's something new, something different that hasn't been around in a long time. You got this big, elaborate type things that they do. All this is very basic, very to the point, and I think the martial arts will carry it over because you're going to see a lot of different things that you haven't seen, on camera before, things that I've done in the past.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm actually looking forward to that going forward, because it sounds like it's going to be a lot really cool. I love camp. I love campy things because it's just
right. Yeah, it's not good. There's going to have a little bit serious side, but think putting your head like the Matt Helm movies with Dean Martin. How was that? He always came out ahead. He acted like he was drunk and this and that. Same thing. With this character seems like he has a little drinking problem also, even though I don't even drink anymore. I don't drink or smoke anymore, but this guy, I did it in the past. When you're a DJ, you've done everything.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
When you were young and you were a DJ and nothing bothered you, you did everything. So now I don't do any of that. I try and keep myself in shape. You get older and you don't want to get out of shape. Mm-hmm. So you get rid of all those strange things that you can't handle at an older age.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, Carmine, I'll tell you, this has been such an awesome episode. I'm loving this. You're welcome back on here anytime. I mean, you've got this.
Okay, there's a lot more. Yes, Brett. There's a lot more that we could talk about too. I mean, there's always something going on. I could tell you stuff in my past, what happened. There's a lot of other stories that we can talk about. You could even do a part 2 of this if you wanted to. We could set out.
I've got a feeling there's going to be a part 2, 3, and 4 of this because, man, I'm loving this.
There was a lot of things that I've done. We didn't even get to half the things if you look at things that I sent you and all that. Mm-hmm. A lot of things we didn't get to changed things that changed the course of my life. And like you said, reinventing myself. Yes, and I'm still doing it. I mean, the whole life cycle becomes a reinventing. If you can't keep reinventing yourself, you just stagnate.
Exactly.
So... That's what you have to do.
But yeah, I definitely want to do some more episodes with you because, I mean, this has been awesome. And you're an awesome
All right, man. Yeah. And remember, you're in Atlanta, so right now that's the big movie capital of the world right now. What's going on in Atlanta, I just hope everything keeps going down there the way they're going and nothing interrupts it because there's a big movie industry going around in Atlanta right now.
Yeah, within about a 15 to 20 mile radius, I've got Tyler Perry Studios, I've got Pinewood Studios, and I've got where they filmed The Walking Dead at in Sonoya.
Right.
And this, man.
Right. I got a few friends that's over there that moved to Atlanta that were actors and all that. They went because that's the place to be right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
all right.
Well, I've got to get you to Atlanta so I can cook for you, man.
Most all right, definitely. Brad. And talk to you anytime. Give me a call when and let me know if we're going to do a part 2 or part 3 on this, all right?
Oh, it's not if, it's a when. We are going to do one, man. I've had a ball with this.
All right, Brad. Thanks a lot, and hello to everybody out there in Georgia and Atlanta and everybody else out there.
All right. I appreciate you, Carmine.